our response to COVID, none of it made sense to me. Peter McCulloch had the four pillars of pandemic response. Try and limit the spread, early treatment, hospital treatment, and vaccines. And we certainly tried to stop the spread by destroying our economy, destroying small businesses. Again, that didn't make sense. But we completely sabotaged early treatment, hospital treatment. I mean, let's face it, they developed protocols that killed people. You slap somebody on a ventilator, 80, 90% chance that they weren't ever going to get off. So everything was directed toward a vaccine very early on. I was talking to the CEO of one of the manufacturers of hydroxychloroquine through April, and he's really excited about this. He provided like 30,000 doses to the national stockpile, and they were going to do all kinds of studies. They were going to come out toward the end of May. But all of a sudden, tail end of April, early May, the communication just went dead silent. It's like everybody in the industry just agreed, we're going to focus on the vaccine, nothing else. And then fortunately for me, I got connected with Michael Yeadon, who for 30 years was an employee of Pfizer company. His specialty is toxicity. He was, in the end of his career, the senior vice president in terms of research for Pfizer. He could not believe what his colleagues were developing. He was beside himself. He said, Ron, there's a whole list of ingredients that we do not put into injectables because they're toxic to the body. When I found out that they were going to produce an injectable that caused the body cells to produce something that was toxic to it, he literally could not believe it until he researched it further and found out, no, it's exactly what they're going to do. So he came out and became very public of it. And again, fortunately, he educated me. There was no way I was ever going to get that injection.
All right, y'all. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you're tuning in. I'm grateful to have you here. And we got a doozy today because the wins just keep on coming for us Jesus-loving MAGA folks. And this news announcement right here is gooder than chicken. Shoot, I might even go as far as saying better than butter because it's another massive waste of money being saved for we the people. Let's get it poppin'.
Trump administration has canceled a contract with Moderna for the development of a bird flu vaccine for humans. Our Angelica Peebles joins us now with more, and you could conjecture a lot of things about this between RFK Jr. and vaccines and mRNA. What's behind all this, Angela?
Yeah, good morning, Joe. So this is just the latest in a string of events that we've seen related to COVID vaccines over the last week. And what's happening here is that the Trump administration is canceling a more than $700 million contract with Moderna to develop a bird flu vaccine and other pre-pandemic influenza viruses. And so what's really notable about this is that obviously we've seen this, we've seen bird flu tearing through birds and also dairy cows and the risk to humans. And so what we saw in the Biden administration is that they really ramped up this work and they were helping to fund, they were going to fund a phase 3 trial to see if we could use mRNA for a bird flu vaccine if it indeed spills over to humans. And now the cancellation of this vaccine is quite a surprise, maybe not a surprise now because we had been hearing rumblings about this for the past few months. But, we just saw this contract ramp up right before the last administration left. And now you have the Trump administration saying that they felt like after a rigorous review, we concluded that the continued investment in Moderna's H5N1 mRNA vaccine was not scientifically or ethically justifiable. And they're saying that it's not just about efficacy, it's about safety. And so it's interesting to hear them really casting doubt on just the safety and the efficacy of mRNA vaccines as a whole.
Yeah, that is interesting, ain't it? But not in the negative way that she means it, because you could just see the bias oozing from her pores. It's clear what side of good versus evil she serves, but me personally, I think it's pretty darn wise of the HHS. Don't trust companies like Pfizer and Moderna who've seemingly sold their souls over the past few years just to bring in the bacon.
Again, I'm not a doctor, not a medical researcher, but I just used what information was available publicly, the VAERS report. I'm the first one that probably got censored with my VAERS chart showing this explosion in deaths associated with the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, I presented that, I think, end of April to Francis Collins. We had a meeting with a bunch of Republican senators and said, Dr. Collins, they're all patting themselves on the back because they finally got tests out, okay? I'm talking to Francis Collins. Are you watching VAERS? I think at the time there were a few thousand deaths. 46% of those deaths were occurring on the day of vaccination within 2 days.
Wow.
So when I confronted him with that, he said, well, Senator, we associated 6 deaths with the child, it was a child age bearing women that associated with the J&J caused by clotting. But those 6 deaths, otherwise he said, Senator, people die. That's what a cavalier attitude he had toward that. So that, really raised my antenna in terms of, the corruption, in terms of the CDC, the FDA, the NIH, in terms of just ignoring the safety signals that were screaming at them, and they continue to ignore it. They continue to cover it up. So no, I've seen the corruption. Sense we should have always been pushing early treatment. We should have been exploring. And by the way, he lied to me at the end of December of 2020 when I pressed him from those hearings. What is the NIH doing in terms of exploring early treatment? He said, oh, Senator, we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on exploring every molecule on the shelf. So, okay, well, show me where you spend the money. Show me what you've studied. Never got that information. So again, these guys have been lying to me since really day one, since the COVID pandemic occurred, and they haven't stopped lying, and they certainly haven't been transparent to the American public. So no, I wouldn't trust them further than I could throw them.
You got these loony libs out here talking about the bird flu, monkeypox. It's something new almost every day. It's something that they just pull out of their rear end, throw it up against the wall, hoping something sticks so they can lock us in the house. They think that cow farts are heating up the earth, causing global warming. They don't believe in the seasons that God created in the beginning and that we're all passing away. It's not anything men and women can control as far as when this thing passes on and God establishes a new heaven and new earth and all of that. But, these people, all kinds of illogical, disconnected brainstem stuff. Lights are on, but nobody's home up top. And I don't know any sane individual who would want to inject themselves with this hot garbage. But thankfully now these fake news, big pharma propagandists, they won't be able to brainwash this naive crowd into jabbing themselves again. A lot of our family members and all that, y'all know they'll come out with something new next week, but I'm going to celebrate the small victories. Please believe it, because it's hard to come by sometimes when you're dealing with these dirty Dems and they're always trying to bring us down. They worship Satan, and I pray for them. I really do, but I wouldn't have taken that stuff anyways. Just like my wife and I didn't pump ourselves full of Lord knows what kind of harmful chemicals between 2020 and now. The boosters, Like after all the proof that's been exposed associated with these most recent vaccines, no thank you. You got to be nuttier than squirrel turds and out of your darn mind to want to inject something into yourself that hasn't been successfully tested. I need to see at least 5 to 10 years of development time. I need clinical trials, all of that. Or I'll just take my chances with the sickness over these so-called protective measures every single time, 24/7, 365 till the Lord calls me home. I know God directs my path, and I trust in the Lord with all my heart, soul, and mind. I love him, and if he wants me gone, I'm gonna be gone. That's how I look at it. But I know the Lord allows doctors and medicines to be brought into fruition, but these ones that they try to rush to market, And thank God Big 47 isn't on board funding these risky experiments this go round. I know back in 2020, he supported the Fauci ouchie, that little Trump bump, but I'm hoping he's repented since then. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because everything, all the indications that he shows me on a day-to-day basis, he fights for truth. He fights for righteousness. And I always pray for Trump. I pray he has discernment, or at least around him, that people are instructing him in the right way to go. And you got RFK Jr. on the squad now. So we're no longer writing blank checks for Big Pharma. These experiments disguised as vaccines and as though they're there to help. No, we know what's going on behind the scenes. And we got smart, common sense leadership back in the Oval Office that's actually focused on putting Americans first instead of lining their pockets. Hallelujah. And maybe this is wrong of me, but I'm praying that all these evil liars and these thieves who've deceived millions, I hope they get held accountable and put into shackles. If not on this side of the grass, God will get them come judgment day if they don't repent and turn to Christ. That's my ultimate hope for them. Let me be honest. Let me be compassionate. I love God and I love my neighbor. Part of loving my neighbor is telling them the truth and wanting what's best for them. So while they continue to choose to serve Satan and serve that demonic evil agenda and live in lawlessness, they're going to get what's coming from them. But if they just come on over here to the narrow gate that leads to life, which is through Jesus Christ, they're going to be all good. They will be my brother and sister. I'll love them for it. I love them anyways, but right now, a lot of these people serving Big Pharma and serving the liberal agenda, it's no bueno. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and scrape back all the money that we gave these companies, our tax dollars. Let's get a refund for this COVID shot that, I saw tons of people take it. People that I love, I'm close to, they took it and they still got COVID. They got it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Where's the effectiveness? Where do we draw the line and say, hey, y'all are full of crap? While we're at it, let's cut off all the funding until these places actually come up with a cure for something, and not just tell us lies, tell us what we want to hear, tell people what tickles their fancy. And it sounds sweet, but when you digest it, it goes down like dookie. We don't want that. And obviously we don't eat poop, but my dog does. And that's a story for another day, but I'll stop ranting on that note. I'm fired up. I don't want to get put in YouTube jail. You know, dishing out too much truth. That's what happens. Our First Amendment rights ain't what they used to be, if you know what I'm saying. But at least when it comes to these online platforms. But I'd love to hear what y'all think about this. So drop a comment down below. Let's keep this conversation rolling. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video. Ring the notification bell. You get notified anytime I post a new video. All my links are down below if you want to support the channel. I love y'all. Until next time, I'll be praying for you. Godspeed. I'm gone.